Ba-da-ba-da. So hypnotic. Our bumper music at this point. Lovely horn section right there. I've always wanted to write a horn chart. They call them horn charts when the horns take over.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think that's the term for it. There's some musical people out there, I think, who are aware of what I'm talking about. Hour 2, bumper to bumper, on a rather warm Monday here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Johnny Athletic scheduled to join at about 5:30 this evening. We have top 5 at 5 yet to come. I want to get to one other text here before we get back into the Caitlin Clark saga. It's the story that's never going to end. I think that's becoming clearer with each week that goes by. 651 guy writes, I don't think having Darnold last year means we have a Super Bowl. Maybe a playoff appearance, but not a Super Bowl. Sam would have been sacked 3 to 4 times more here than he was in Seattle. Sam is terrible under pressure, make many mistakes when he's rushed, as many quarterbacks are, so why does it matter if we had him last year? I'm not sure I'm quite as negative as 651 guy, but it's at a point worth repeating. I don't think we can in any way, shape, or form assume that the Vikings are hoisting the Lombardi Trophy if Sam Darnold stays. I mean, I know we have a championship organization, according to Chris Carter. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Seattle might be better run. Or Seattle might be a better team, a better balance of offense and defense and key positions and football and offensive philosophy, etc. It's too easy to say, well, it had Darnold there, it would have been fine. Look what he did. He won a Super Bowl. He didn't win a Super Bowl here. He didn't even win a playoff game here. He won a Super Bowl there. So let's be careful on the assumption that, well, we sure blew it on Sam Darnold. We don't know that. We know that he played, and I don't know if he played better statistically. As the season went on, I think he actually kind of came back to the pack, but they had enough around him and enough infrastructure around him that he was good enough. And he made a couple of throws in the postseason that he needed to make.
Title game, I think he was good.
Yeah.
Super Bowl, not as much.
So, you could play that game. And again, I wanted to franchise him. I wasn't ready to give him 3 years. But it's too easy of a trap to fall into. Well, we'd have been, would we have been better at the position than we were last year? Absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that. But be careful assuming that we've got Super Bowl pedigree in us. Just because the guy who was here went on to win the Super Bowl someplace else. They're different organizations, and maybe we're going to get a sniff of what they have, and maybe it'll be good influence, right? Because our new general manager, Teasley, comes from that organization, correct?
He does. That's what I was going to get to.
All that's going to be kind of good. Okay. So when we last left the Caitlin Clark saga on Friday, you played, I think, during the top 5 at 5, some sound from the previous, not previous, but a former president of the United States, Barack Obama, who was in Chicago. In fact, I think he had the team at his new library, right?
Yes,
the new
All-Stars.
building that just got opened up, the All-Stars.
They have a gym there.
All-Stars. That's correct. I didn't know that, but you reminded me of it. And there was a fairly candid moment picked up by the cameras. And look, the president's well aware when he's on camera or not. I'm not saying that he didn't have any knowledge of it. But there was an interesting exchange between the president and the aforementioned Caitlin Clark. If you've missed it, let's play it again. We played it Friday. Let's sort of re-rack the story, so to speak, starting there.
Oh, hey, Caitlin, how are you? Really nice to meet you. You're great. You're fantastic.
Thank you.
Don't let all this nonsense get you down. I always say one of the things that was luckiest for me was I didn't get famous till I was like 45. So I was an old man. I mean, you're my daughter's age. They're not to have that much, burden and nonsense. So don't lose that joy. The game's like the game. And you're a hooper. And you
I try sometimes.
No, you always hoop.
Thanks.
And you're on a nice little run right now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
You mind if I get a picture?
Yeah, come on.
Ready?
Yeah, come on.
Nice moment.
Loved it.
There was a million things that President Obama could have said, a million directions he could have gone. How conscious was he of the direction he went, which seemed to be an affirmation of Caitlin Clark, not so much whispering in her ear, I love you, and you're a hooper, but you didn't invent the league, Caitlin. And I'm not sure you do a good enough job understanding that. He chose to make it about, pay no attention to the nonsense. And as I think I said Friday, but that message being conveyed from someone in authority within the WNBA. It would be groundbreaking. It would be controversial because that person would face pushback on his or her own, but it's exactly the refreshing message that I think the entire league could use. A reminder that she's not the evil empire. She's not necessarily Darth Vader unless you want to make her into one. So, and that's what compelled me to mention for Sermons, should he be the next commissioner, was just to have fun with that story and say there was something, I think, pretty profound about what I took out of that exchange and that discussion, given the backdrop, how emotionally and racially charged everything is in the WNBA and has continued to be virtually from the moment she got there. So then Caitlin Clark made the mistake of sitting down for an interview with one of the ESPN reporters,
Malika Andrews.
And for one of the few times, I think she finally sort of, you could say, let the hair down a little bit and did mention that, there's days that the whole approach, everything about this kind of wears on her.
The quote was emotionally exhausting.
Yes. Which there's a part of me that wants to say to her, sadly, you should have known better. That if you showed any vulnerability on any of this, by the way, vulnerability that in other situations the WNBA welcomes. The WNBA is all about being human and being vulnerable and not having to run from that stuff, except in Caitlin Clark's case. She's the exception. She's got to be the rock. She can show no vulnerability because she gets blamed for pretty much everything that takes place in this league that is controversial. So right on cue, this may be the first or second time I've ever heard her use words like that since she's come into the league. But right on cue, one of the, I guess you could say, deans of discipline in the WNBA, from a media standpoint, had to make sure that Caitlin Clark understood exactly what line she crossed. This is Monica McNutt, correct?
Yes, Malika Andrews brings us back and throws it to Monica McNutt.
Let's listen.
Honest reflection, but in totality, Monica, we don't often get to hear Caitlin Clark's perspective in quite this level of honesty. And this is an important conversation to continue to have with empathy for everybody involved. So listening to that, what was your reaction?
I thought the choice, the word of being fearful of the conversation after a game that she alluded to was interesting because oftentimes it seems, at least in the larger discourse, and not that there's not an emotional experience for Caitlin Clark, because I believe that it is, but it's the folks that are accused of doing something outside of the parameters of competition that are actually the ones that are fearful when you look at their social medias. This is what I will say. Caitlin Clark is 24. She is a shining star in the galaxy of the WNBA. But I do think as she continues to matriculate through this league, there's room for a little bit more accountability and self-awareness in terms of her role in the larger sisterhood, if she sees it that way, in the WNBA. But Malika, I agree with her 100%. It is certainly exhausting for all of us who really want to celebrate where this league is and the beautiful basketball that is being played, this larger discourse that can be very disappointing.
Yeah, and I think that we all have a responsibility in seeing where we fit in that discourse, and what we are working to do on this show is focus in right there on the game that we all love so very much, and that's what we're going to do over the course of this next hour.
Okay. So it's an interesting finish there by
Malika.
Malika, who I think was trying to bring it back to not just Caitlin Clark. But I wasn't even aware of it till earlier today, and it just made me shake my head. There is almost never an acknowledgement or a willingness. When's the last time McNutt challenged anybody else in this WNBA passion play regarding their own approach, behavior, etc.? The answer is it hasn't happened. It's all on Caitlin Clark. That's the stupidity of what we're in. That's the stupidity is the wrong word. Insanity of what we're in. So Caitlin hasn't done enough to be considered part of the sisterhood. Why is that, Monica? What exactly does she need to do to be considered? You're okay. You're in. We're gonna accept you in this fraternity, sorority, whatever you want to call it. This grouping. It's remarkable, and I'll say again to people who get frustrated with the amount of time we spend on this, I'm going to keep spending as much time as we need to as long as that insanity continues to play out. Believe me, I'd rather not. But I'm not going to not respond to it because, again, it so conveniently leaves so much out of the discussion and out of the equation regarding the sisterhood. What is she obligated to do? How many times does she have to say and acknowledge and talk about what came before? How many times does she have to say, I don't want any of my fans to participate in any of the racist, threatening nonsense. They don't speak for me. They have nothing to do with me. Stop it. How many times has she just said after a game, let's just concentrate on the basketball. This other stuff is ridiculous, and I want nothing to do with it. That's the insanity of this. She has done that repeatedly. It's never going to be enough for the Monica McNutts of the world, who's obviously decided she's not in the sisterhood yet. Despite the role she has played economically, she's not in the sisterhood yet. What does she have to do? Change her race? What exactly is Caitlin Clark obligated to do? There's no answer to that. Other than a belief, I guess, that some individuals are grandfathered in, you're part of us, and some aren't. And she get very specific about the fearful thing, knowing full well that Clark didn't mean it in the physical sense. She's just speaking. And what have you and I have talked about the last 2 years? Sooner or later, I'd like to see her actually melt down. But here's the dilemma. She didn't come close to melting down in that interview, but she did bear a little bit of her soul. So, and you see, again, that's not the reaction from every place, but believe me, there are other individuals, the so-called guardians of the NBA, or WNBA. I talk about guardians of the game in baseball all the time. There's these self-appointed WNBA guardians who decide you're in or you're out. And those individuals are just not going to be satisfied. No matter if she were to actually have the meltdown I'm talking about, she'd get crucified. Oh, you're turning yourself into the victim, are you? So she's got no chance. And it doesn't matter how many times she brings up the Maya Moores of the world, the individuals who
her favorite player growing up.
It makes no difference. It's because people have decided to associate her with individuals she has no control over. She gets demonized, or if not demonized, it's, well, I hope as you get old, she's very young and she'll figure this thing out. There's nothing wrong with challenging Caitlin Clark on some aspects of her deportment and her behavior. Nothing wrong with it. The problem is these same guardians have zero time or zero inclination challenging the conventional wisdom within the league that's already established to say, maybe we need to like relax a little bit here about what exactly are we worried about here? Maybe some of that undercurrent needs to be challenged a little bit. Any chance that's going to come up? Occasionally, Lisa Leslie has tried to do that gently a couple of times, but not in any sort of hard way, not in any sort of strident way. And that's where we are here. Sally Jenkins, storied sports writer, columnist for the Washington Post, she wrote about the exchange between Caitlin and former President Obama. Now, she turned it into, in her mind, a showing of what contrast there is between Trump and Obama. Here's what she writes. Give you a couple situations here. Here was the ultra suave Barack Obama's message to the basketball player Caitlin Clark in a small but noteworthy exchange over the WNBA All-Star Weekend. It never hurts to be winsome. In fact, it can help you win. Can you imagine Donald Trump in the same situation? What he'd have done or said, the race baiting and appeal to baseness? As if Trump would even deign to meet a WNBA player, that is. He prefers to use the league's players from afar for his own purposes. And she goes on from there. Here's what fascinates me about where Sally Jenkins took it, and maybe this goes under the classification of we all read into this sort of exchange whatever we think fits with our position on this given issue. Let me get to the sort of nut graph pages, so to speak. She mentions or writes that the former president took pains to make clear that he's a genuine follower of the league. He made small remarks to various players about their seasons as he posed for photos. Then Obama spotted Clark. Oh, hey, Caitlin, you're great. He leaned in closer to deliver a more personal message, picked up by a hot mic, and you just heard it. Don't let all this nonsense get you down. Blah, blah, blah. Game's like the game, and you're a hooper, and you hoop. I try sometimes, she said shyly. You're always hooping, and you're on a nice little run right now. Here's what Sally Jenkins was left with out of that conversation. There was a sweetness in the moment, a subtle teaching. In the nicest way, Obama shored Clark up, but also reminded her that she is a greater player and public figure when she just plays the game, accepts the inevitable bad calls and frustrations, and doesn't let the web-brewed poisons into her blood. Left unspoken was the fact that no one has been subject to more unfairness than black women who can't buy a call from refs and don't get their own signature sneaker deals either. Obama chose not to corner Clark on that point. Instead, he gave her grace. And perhaps because he did so, she will have more grace with her opponents, and they will with her. I'm again.
What are we talking about?
I'm left speechless, and I have nothing but the highest respect for Sally Jenkins. She had a wonderful
Unbelievable.
career.
That started out really well too.
I was left utterly gobsmacked by what she decided to read into it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I guess again, maybe that speaks to our positions going into this being different, perhaps.
So we assume that the president agrees with everything that Sally Jenkins just said, that he knows that black players don't get any calls and they don't have any shoes on.
I think a 65% black league at this point, for whatever that's worth.
I just watched a video from Lynx practice today where Nafisa Collier wheeled out an entire pallet of her own shoe from the Jordan brand that just got dropped.
We can go down a list that's pretty lengthy on shoes at this point, too. You're right.
So she's assuming that the president knows all that, but he's just leaving it.
He gave her grace, and in a way was almost trying to send that message subtly. What he left out was what he really meant. In other words, again, she's the problem. She's the only individual who needs to adjust. No one else in this passion play, in this conversation, needs to be challenged or adjust. Now, you can say she let herself off the hook in this piece, again, by saying perhaps She will have more grace with her opponents, and they will with her. I'm sure you could say, okay, well, so that was her attempt to acknowledge the possibility that there's some grace issues on the other side here. And I'm thinking, man, that's about 5 layers deeper than I thought it might be, and it does seem to serve a convenient purpose here if that's your position on all of this. But it's the latest example of just how mind-blowing this story continues to be, how corrosive it continues to be. And I no longer believe, I hate saying this way, I no longer believe that the league will get over it. I don't. I think this is, as long as Caitlin Clark plays and is viewed the way some individuals want to view her, and she is, by the way, neither a godlike figure or Darth Vader. She's somewhere in between. I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think it's going to change. I think it's going to bubble up. It'll back off a little bit, and then it'll bubble up again. And I'll ask, I'm not exactly sure, no matter how many press conferences she gave a week, how much it would matter that the individuals who still want to go after her and challenge her on really not being a part of the sisterhood, what it's going to change. That's the box she's in. I don't think there's any way out of the box for her.
I don't either, because even if she does join the sisterhood now, is the sisterhood really going to believe it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they're going to go, well, she had no choice. Yes. I mean, finally.
Correct.
We've been waiting 3 years for her to jump in on our side. I agree. You're probably right. By the way, if you'd like to watch Caitlin Clark on Sunday, she will be at Target Center taking on the Lynx, noon tip-off.
Sold out already?
I don't know if it's sold out, but tickets are expensive. It's one of the most expensive games of the year. It's one of the most expensive games of the year.
I hope will anybody ask her to apologize for that, or
there should be, I would imagine, like a meet and greet beforehand where she can grab the mic, and you know how they'll do that from time to time. Like,
I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
Is that what she needs to say? I'm not worthy of all this attention? Literally, is that what needs to be said?
I'm not sure.
The McNutt part about to me, it's so disingenuous because you're talking about an interview she's giving in which she finally shows a little bit of vulnerability, and it's immediately taken to, be careful using the F word, fear, because we've had players on the other end, after cheap-shotting you, who have had to put up with inexcusably racist threats, etc. They're the ones who really are fearful. Why would she ever open her mouth? And then if she doesn't open her mouth, she can't join the sisterhood. She's not going to be given any grace to join the sisterhood. There's just no chance. Everybody is dug in, not less and less since she first came to the league. They're dug in harder than they have ever been. And the only thing, like I said, that I'd hope might disarm it would be this little exchange between a former president who was black and a white player who made it about the basketball, right? Don't worry about the nonsense, you're a hooper. And what you hope is that could break through at some point. Doesn't take away that racism exists. It doesn't take away the heinous nature of the threats, but I took it as a reminder that there's something, to me, there was something that should have been disarming. And so I took that as a message, whether he intended it as much for other players in the league or anti-Caitlin Clark fans, whatever. I took it as his attempt to say, what are we doing? Hey, it's Caitlin Clark. I'm going to react to her like I'm a human being who is impressed with what she brings to the game. Doesn't mean she's perfect. Doesn't mean she doesn't whine. Doesn't mean there's days I roll my eyes about what she does. But, I mean, just think about it. I mean, she's gotten hammered at the front end of All-Star Weekend by Nancy Armour.
Right.
Going back to the Emmett Till nonsense.
Right. And
now she gets hammered in the back end by one of the most prominent analysts they have on WNBA basketball. And she can say, well, I didn't really hammer her, but she hammered her. It was the old subtle patronizing,
talking
condescending.
real fast, get it in.
You want to be in the you want to be a part of this sisterhood or not? Who gets to decide? Who's on the committee? To me, that's part of what the president is saying. But I don't want to do any more projecting than Sally Jenkins did. In any case.
The Fan at BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. The 4 o'clock keyword is new, N-E-W. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword new.
You're listening to Barrero on The Fan.
We had a significant influx of roundabouts added to various roadways where previously we had, I guess, stoplights or stop signs or yields. How long has it been? 10 years? Has it been 5? Has it been 20?
I was going to say about a decade, probably.
About a decade.
Yeah.
And we went from having like 3 to having 300, 3,000.
There's a lot.
Curious to know what those numbers are. Apparently there's one. I read over the weekend a story indicating there's one. Where the hell is it? I want to say it's someplace south that is the most dangerous roundabout in town.
Oh, no.
Like they average an accident, although not serious accident.
Yeah.
An accident like every other day. And they're still trying to figure out what it is about, what the elements are that make that particular roundabout, I should say, the perfect storm. You might be able to Google it, but I don't want to make it just about that one. I want to make it about the concept, because I do sense that we still have a lot of people who don't understand how to get on or get off a roundabout. The merge sign, for me, in this town continues to be the single most ignored safety sign that we have. The yield sign, I should say. Did I say merge? The yield sign.
Yep. Lakeville, I just went through this roundabout yesterday.
And is it
185th Street and Kenwood Trail.
Is it as lethal as is described there? Because they're trying to figure out what they can do. That it's the good news is, and this is supposed to be a lot of the point of roundabouts is, yeah, when there are accidents, though, they're going to be fender benders.
Right.
You're not going to have anywhere near the percentage of serious injury or death. That's a lot of what the impetus is, the attraction of implementing more roundabouts.
Their theory is that it's one of the handful of 2x2 roundabouts where you have 2 lanes.
Okay.
And that can be confusing. Are people staying in the roundabout? Are they exiting? And that is confusing for someone who hasn't dealt with a lot of roundabouts in my life until recently, and some of the places that we've had to go consistently. The 2x2 is a little bit more challenging than the 1x1 roundabout, where it's pretty obvious where the cars are coming from and what they're up to. So that's the theory on why, according to the story that I just scanned.
Well, in general, if we did a scientific survey of Twin Cities drivers, and the main question is, do you believe roundabouts have served the implementation of the number we now have, going a bit European on the bit, have ultimately or, overall positively impacted the urban road experience? What percentage of people do you think would say, yes, it has been overall a positive step?
I would say more than you probably think. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep building them.
Now, I don't know if we can believe that, because they're stubborn about what they build. I don't know what the percent. My guess is the percentage would be lower than you think, but I'm in favor of them. I think they do take a little time getting used to.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But I'm definitely in favor of them. My biggest issue is, again, not understanding what a yield sign means. Part of it is gauging space.
For sure.
Because it's, okay, you don't have to yield. If you see a car you're getting on, and you see a car coming around to your left, but it's not right on top of you.
Right.
You can slip in.
You've got time.
You have time to do it. But you have to understand, if the car is already like into your space or close to it, you can't go then. That's the point of the yield sign. It's simply a matter of understanding the rules. And I think people tense up.
Yes.
In part because if they've got somebody behind them, they go, oh, God, if I don't go, this guy's going to start honking. I can tell he's one of those guys, and we're going to have a problem here. So I think in general they're a good thing. I don't know. I'm not going to say in every place, but I think they are useful. I think they do serve a good purpose, better than lights, better than stop signs, better than the old-fashioned yields, etc.
You know what I think hurts the Lakeville one? There's a bunch of shrubbery up top.
Oh.
I don't think you can see.
Visibility problem?
Yeah, I mean, you can see the cars coming from the right.
Yeah.
But I think it helped. I don't think there should be anything in the middle of the roundabout. I think you should be able to see everything that you need to see. Because then you can maybe gauge speed, or this guy's coming, or I've got time. But if they're coming blindly around something that's got 60 bushes in it, I don't know that helps. Again, I'm not an engineer. I don't live in Lakeville, but every time I go to something in Lakeville, I deal with this roundabout because it's in a very busy.
Interesting, yeah.
It's whether you're going to the high school, either one of them. If you're going to go watch future Wisconsin Badgers at Lakeville North, I'm sure Greg Gard has had to go through this roundabout a number of times. I'm not sure. But I'm going through it yesterday and now looking at pictures of it again. It's like, well, you've got like 10 bushes right in the middle of it. You can't see everything. You can only see what's immediately to your left and your right.
That's not good.
I wouldn't think that'd be helpful.
That's a bad use of shrubbery, I would say. Now, maybe, we want all these areas to look nice, but not at the expense of the flow.
Well, right. You can't see the shrubs if there's a 4-car pileup.
Try driving in the UK with 4-lane roundabouts. Yeah,
we're double A ball.
We're at best. We might even be rookie. We might even be banana. No, what are the banana?
Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas level. But because I've never done it, but I shouldn't say that. In Spain, I did it in a couple of roundabouts where it was minimum 3 lanes. I want to say 4, and I'll admit on that, you just sort of go.
Yeah.
Because you don't even know what lane you're going to get to or what. You just go and hope that somebody doesn't smack you.
It's worked out for everybody else.
Exactly.
It's going to work out for you, too.
Dan Minnesota. Where did it go? Hold on. I just had it here. Where did he go? Here it is. I would argue most of those who think they are helpful also don't know how to use them. Well, that's part of my concern. I thought he had another one. Maybe it was somebody else. Somebody mentioned that the problem in, passive-aggressive Minnesota is people get stymied at the 4-way stop. They don't know when to go. They don't know when to.
Yep.
They wave each other on,
yep.
and they don't. And
that's true.
But I still think indecision's bad in either situation. But I think indecision. Well, I guess you could say indecision's more dangerous on the roundabouts. I'm not sure, but. I like them.
I do too. I think they're fine. Now, we have the advantage, you and I that we don't have to drive right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're like right now in rush hour.
That's a fair point.
When everybody's going home.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
Point.
And every once in a while I'm around for the morning rush going to do something, but I don't know. I don't think I'm the best test case on traffic stuff because for 20 years I haven't really had to drive in it.
Yeah, we have that advantage.
Consistent daily traffic. So,
especially post-COVID. I mean, I don't think there's such thing as a rush hour anymore at night, like there used to be.
Well, it's I think an hour earlier.
It's earlier, yeah.
I think it's right now is when it gets busy.
Moose from Duluth. MnDOT says the bushes in the middle are there on purpose. There's no reason to look across, only to the traffic coming from the left.
That's probably makes some sense. That probably makes some sense.
Gentlemen, I live near that roundabout in Lakeville, and I navigate it several times per week. The only reason there are accidents is that people simply do not understand how they're supposed to work. and the proper way to use them. I hear people griping all the time about those damn roundabouts. That's nonsense. In the case of the roundabout in Lakeville, I can unequivocally say that the congestion has been vastly improved. The naysayers are just a bunch of crabby, inflexible curmudgeons for whom progress is something to be suspicious of. That's Jamie or Jaime, Jaime in Burnsville. So there, but that speaks to, maybe again, it's experience. The indecision,
yes,
is you can't have, you got to pay attention on the roundabouts. And it's all about calculating what's going on to your immediate left.
Right.
And just seeing a car shouldn't make you wait. If it's far enough away, you can get ahead of it. That's supposed to help the flow. But again, you can't gun it as the car is literally approaching the position that you're coming from. Then you got a problem.
And if you're in the double lane, the 2x2, like the one in Lakeville is, you got to make sure that they're on the inside. If you're trying to get in the right, like make sure that they're not getting ready to go and exit to your right. But I would imagine,
yes, that's true too.
The longer, not to make it an age thing, but the longer that you've driven one way.
Yeah.
If you've driven 50 years one way
without a
and then
roundabout,
they just plop these roundabouts in, you've got decades and decades of experience doing it a different way. The learning curve is probably different, I would imagine, because I don't love them, but I'm dealing with it.
Sam Mitchell joined the Sunday Sermons program earlier, I should say yesterday, and it was wide-ranging as it always is with Sam, including some great stuff. I asked him the question I'm asking of all our guests now the rest of the summer, if they were alive then. What were you doing 50 years ago this summer, the summer of 76? He had some great answers on that. But we did talk plenty of hoops, LeBron reaction, etc. Gargi has culled from that interview a couple of sound bites we want to play now in case you missed it. And I think the first one is directly related to what Sam's belief would be at the top of the main reason why he always questioned, not about the weather, but about other things that were why LeBron didn't really ever seriously consider coming to Minnesota. Is this the maturity soundbite?
I believe it is, and it starts with you setting up the question via a texter.
Kenny from Duluth just texted. Regarding Sam's quote about the Sixers having a good young group that can win, my counterpoint to this is, well, the Wolves are like that too. Why not them? Why not LeBron here?
Because LeBron is not going to sit there and trust LaMelo Ball. What is LaMelo Ball track record been to where LeBron James going to go sign up to say LaMelo Ball? Hey, man, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Now, look, I played for the Timberwolves. I'm a Timberwolves fan. I hope this works out for the Timberwolves.
But you're honest.
Right? But you got to think about LeBron James and what he's looking for.
Yes.
You look at Tyrese Maxey, Edgecombe. Nick Nurse has won a championship. You know, Joel Embiid has been an MVP. Jaylen Brown has won a championship, been a finals MVP, one of the best wing defenders in the league. Hey.
Adds up.
Maybe the Wolves should have been trying to attract Jaylen Brown, and then maybe that could have attracted LeBron James. But yeah. I know a lot of teams and people are unhappy with his decision because he just put his thumb on the scale in a huge way. But Philadelphia is going to be good. Period.
All right. I thought it was important to play that because, again, I like hearing, different opinions on this move. I like the LaMelo move. I think you do too, even though I think we both understand that there are risks involved in it. But I want to hear from other basketball, people who not only, discuss the game, but in Sam's case, obviously played it and coached it. Because that's out there, and I don't think you can run from it. And if you're LeBron, maybe that is a big part of it. That might even be LeBron saying he's not sure LaMelo can do it, but that he doesn't know, and he doesn't want to have to. It's his last year or last 2 years. He doesn't want to have to roll the dice that way. That's understandable to a degree. I think there's some logic to that mentality. Now, I will say, that I'm not sure I trust Joel Embiid physically any more than I trust LaMelo Ball mentally, if that makes sense. Now, as Sam said, it's undeniable that Joel Embiid is an MVP. He has won an MVP award.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I don't think there's any reason to trust Embiid in terms of his ability to take care of his body, give himself the best chance to be as healthy as possible. Maybe it will be, as Sam said yesterday, that this will motivate him in a way he understands he's on the clock and that he will probably come back the best physically he's ever been. But there's a part of me that says, well, if that's what it takes, bringing LeBron in, then you're not very mature at this point, and he didn't just get into the league. He's been around longer than LaMelo, that's for sure. But that's the Sam view on it. What's the second one?
Are the Wolves better now? And I'm just repeating the question that you're about to ask.
Are the Minnesota Timberwolves better today than they were at the end of last postseason, before the trades?
I would say right now, I would say no. Do they have a chance when the season starts to gel and work through it? Yeah. But, Dan, we don't know how this backcourt is going to work. Think about this. You want to take Anthony Edwards off the ball, but come playoff time, don't you normally have your best perimeter guy with the ball in his hands? So what is LaMelo going to do when Anthony Edwards has the ball? So they're going to have to figure out some things defensively. How good a defender is he? Is he going to buy in? You know, the Timberwolves are trying to compete and win a championship. He's never had that frame of mind since he's been in the league. And then the injuries. Does he know and understand how to play through certain injuries?
Yeah.
So there's an expectation on him now that he's never had before. It's just been, I'm talented. I'm in the NBA. You know, we entertain people and I go home. Now you have an expectation of not just winning, but winning big. So I think there's a huge question mark.
Yeah. Those are all fair points. I can't argue with any of them. I think if this goes the way they envision, LaMelo's presence is going to unlock a lot of things in this offense. You and I have talked about this over the years. The Wolves always seem to struggle to get easy shots. I think he's going to get them easier shots. Now, the question is at expense of what? Can he guard enough, as you say, and you're awfully naked in the front court, right? They have no – the reason they were desperate on LeBron is there was no plan B. Right? I mean, that's the issue is they can't, it's not like, well, there's 3 or 4 other names we can go with. They got no other flexibility to that extent. And so you're left with, we assume the notion you're going to have to play Jaden some at power forward. Is that even realistic?
Yes. You don't have a choice. Look, you gave up a lot. This team is totally different. When you let Julius Randle and Nas get out the door.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 2 skilled big guys that know how to play basketball and play well. So I just think this is a huge chance. You lost a lot of depth. So we don't know how good your team is going to be because you lost that depth. So it's going to be interesting to find out exactly what you can and can't do.
The contrarian viewpoint is important to listen to, right? And I think on this, that's sort of the position that Sam has taken. And I don't think it's because he's trying to take a contrarian position. I think that's kind of how he feels. On LaMelo, I think what they're projecting is, to that question Sam asks, if we challenge him and we put him in a little different situation, we think he's got it in him. And that's the bet they're making. I think it's a bet worth making and taking because, as Sam tells us elsewhere in the interview, sometimes you have to take big steps, and they come with risk. He's laying out the risks. I want us to go in with our eyes open, which is very different than saying that this has to be a colossal failure. The last point, Anthony Edwards. Again, I don't know if I agree with Sam on this, but he's wondering about, I think the last soundbite has to do with me asking him about the art of playing off the ball, which is going to be part of what Anthony Edwards is going to have to do. He's still going to have the ball a decent amount, but not as much. So can he get open? Can he find openings playing off of LaMelo Ball? Here's Sam. For this to be the most optimistic about the changes, and about the backcourt. What does Anthony Edwards need to do to adjust? Because I've been talking about the fact that there is an art to playing off the ball that is different, at least for parts of games, than having the ball in your hands as much as Anthony is used to, the way they ran things here. So what does Anthony, for this thing to be successful, to get the most out of what LaMelo at his best might offer, and what Anthony, wants to be, how does he have to adjust his game? Is it easy to learn how to play off the ball, for example?
No, Dan, this is what concerns me. You're asking Anthony Edwards, your best player, one of the best players in the league, to make adjustments. Now, think about that.
Yeah.
Normally, the way this works, everybody adjusts around me. You're asking him to adjust. So that right there is a concern for me because, again, LaMelo Ball, you're asking LaMelo Ball now, he knows how to run a team, but you're asking him to play winning basketball. All those highlight passes that are only a 30-35% chance of being completed, that where in the past you don't worry about the turnover. Why? Because not really no one thinks you're going to win anyway. Do you still play like that? Does he still make those type of careless decisions?
Yes.
Those are the things, Dan, I'm talking about. You're not in Charlotte anymore. And think about this from Charlotte's standpoint. They want to play winning basketball. The Charlotte Hornets don't think you can play winning basketball, or they wouldn't have traded you. Look at what they're doing. They're retooling their team. They're looking totally different, acting different. They're resetting their culture because what I'm reading between the lines is they don't think you're that guy. So, again, you're asking your best player, one of the best players in the league, to make the adjustment.
Let's remember something, though. They played their best basketball last year with LaMelo as sort of the guy running it. The numbers don't lie on that. Now, again, you could say that makes the decision they made in Charlotte even more curious, but that needs to be put into the mix. And as a texter mentions, did Sam see Anthony with the ball in his hands last year's playoffs? And there is a fine line here. You obviously have to give him the ball, but he is not enough of a lead guard where you're left with any other conclusion that there are times where he's a liability, as talented as he is, if he has to have the ball in his hands as much as they forced him to. Once they basically sat Conley, and once they had injury in the backcourt with DiVincenzo, there are actually times when I think Anthony would be better served not having the ball in his hands all the time, and I think that's the idea of what LaMelo in theory represents as a lead guard. Top 5 will include?
Well, first of all, is that entire conversation available on the Sunday Sermons podcast?
I certainly hope so. If Blakemore did his job.
He did his job. I listened to it via that today. So if you want to hear the entire conversation, it's on the Sunday Sermons podcast page.
And great stuff. Stay till the end when he explains in 1976 exactly why his mom would give him $1.03 to go to McDonald's. The exact amount.
Think about this, Dan.
$1.03. No more. No less, what it got him, and sort of his own summer experiences.
I got to get to that part.
It was a lot of fun, actually.
I got to get to that part.
Yeah.
Top 5 will include a Twins weekend wrap and some Minnesota Gopher projections with Big Ten Media Day starting tomorrow.
You're listening to Barrero on the Fan.
From the one